district, or you can't wait to just call the back office and say, hey, do we have money for this? That's not the way it's supposed to work. So they cited us on that, and unfortunately, reading the regulations, reading what they expect of us, there seems to be the only way to do it is to assign or get somebody to do this kind of work at each of the schools, so that when they have their IEP meetings, somebody's there. One of the things that we were trying to figure out is this year there is very little money to go around. The one piece that we did have as a token additional funding is the circuit breaker. The difference between what we expected to receive and what they're actually sending us was about $158,000 additional funding. If you recall, earlier in the summer, the middle school retracted on the idea that, hey, we don't need a special ed teacher, and we used that additional savings to fund that teacher. Perhaps this is a place where we can fund somebody to literally spend 4 days a week and maybe one day helping check over the IEPs, because that's usually the part that puts us out of compliance. And that's why that recommendation was down there at the bottom.
And
it's something you may want to consider.
And I think that the reason we did it as one staff group is other districts have chairs just right in the buildings. So they may share a building, or just depending on the number of special education kids and the volume, just be in a building by itself. So looking at that and looking at what other districts do, would probably have, another district might have 2 people who would need to be hired, and I think we could do it with just the one. And we have to be able to provide this. I mean, this is something that they cited, and it has to be responded to.
Tony, did you just raise your hand?
And is there any sort of shift in the number of students on IEPs? I mean, do we see, is it a steady percentage? Does it vary a lot from year to year?
No, the kids come and go. It's about the 14.5%, in that kind of 14% share, which is typical of the state. It's about the state average, actually.
And an IEP is a student who is being seen by someone other than their teacher for a period of time during the day.
Right.
Maybe in the class, maybe out of class.
Right. And it's developing with plans and the regulation, adherence to the regulation, and within the schools, as things that really needs to be monitored, because things happen. By the time they would come to my office and I see them, it's done. Parents have signed plans, so it's a done deal. We generally have about between 250-ish to 270 kids, counting the outer district, and we had a few kids move in this year that I hadn't noticed that in the past.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
if I could suggest that we take F out of order, which is the...
At this point, I'm okay with that, because I didn't want to do it in the beginning of the meeting, because it's at the end of the 6:30 time frame. So I would think that at this point, people are probably here if they have issues of transportation. So does anybody have any issues with that?
No.
Okay. Michelle, come on up.
That's an awful lot of paper.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it at the beginning of the meeting because I didn't know where people would get it here.
Awful lot of paperwork. Don't worry, I won't read all of that to you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to start off with school lunch first, because transportation's very detailed. School lunch, we started off the year basically with a few little hiccups here and there with equipment problems, but we've been able to pick up the pieces with that. The price increases, I haven't really received a lot of complaints. I've received more complaints from the kids not wanting to take their milk. They hate the 8-ounce milk. They want the 10-ounce milk. A lot of them refusing to take their fruit. With the cafeteria staff, they're begging them, please take it, bring it home, eat it later. So they're still pushing that. We started off right from the beginning with whole wheat. A little slow start, but we have pizza coming up, and the kids had already got to try the whole wheat pizza last year, and there wasn't a problem with that. So I think as the year goes along, they won't even recognize what they're eating at that point. We have started purchasing locally grown. We are purchasing our apples from Nookchoke Farms, and we're paying the same exact price for there as we were at a different company, and we're finding that the staff and the kids are loving the locally grown much better than what we were getting before. Right now, we had done a lot of professional development with the cafeteria staff. They had done a wheel of portion, which was basically to give them a little more insight on weights, measuring, waste, customer service, different ways to show what they're making that maybe the kids don't realize what they're getting as much, I guess. Ways of, making things tastier with fruits and vegetables that they wouldn't have eaten before. They learned how to use some of our frozen and canned commodity fruits and vegetables that were received from the government, which is also cost effective, so that was a help. I think they enjoyed both of those professional developments that day. They are all we're going to be doing Serve Safe training in November, which is November 6th, which is everyone, including myself, which is basically teaches them school safety regulations. It teaches them temperature control, contamination, hygiene, logging, storing, inventory, a great deal. So we have a lot of our staff right now that are up for, or over the next year and a half, that are up for their renewal. So we're going to be doing that soon. I'll be going for training in September, which is really to teach us how to receive the extra 6 cents per reimbursable meal that we're going to be getting. So they are sending us to trainings because we have to learn the paperwork on how we're supposed to process that paperwork. So as far as the food service department, lucky enough, I have a tremendous food service staff who have been able to run on their own with very little help, and having Helena Neves on the sideline being able to keep the food service department afloat while I've been handling transportation. So, on the transportation...
Before you go on to
I'm sorry.
Michelle, any new hire in the food service department, do we not send them to food safe?
You have to have one safe person in each kitchen. So right now, all of our food service staff has been Serve Safe certified. There are only a couple right now that are starting, that theirs have expired, but as long as I have one in each kitchen, we are fine. Right now I have an opening at the high school for a girl that retired there. One girl I transferred to the elementary school because I have someone out at sick leave there, and we lost one of our other food service staff who gave our notice like the week before school started. So I'm still interviewing right now for one new staff member. But until I got that staff member, I really didn't want, if I'm going to do the training, I'd rather do it as a group, so every time that we're up for renewal, we're all up together at the same time, so that everyone is Serve Safe, everyone is trained. And down the road, I might decide to train one of my substitutes. We have a few substitutes, like 3 or 4 that actually substitute quite often, and have asked for one of the times if we could do that. So that is something I will suggest the next time. This time I'm going to hold off because I do have, all of my staff will be Serve Safe by the end of this year.
Is there anything else on food service at this point? I did hear that fruit comment, by the way, so I know they are telling the kids down there, take your fruit, because
Yes.
I told my daughter the same thing. I said, well, take the fruit, put it in your bag, have it after.
Right, keep it for
yeah.
after school.
So they must be really pushing, because
Yes,
she's like,
they're
telling me to
pushing
take
it
my
all
fruit.
over, so.
I guess
But we're
that's a
not
good
buying
thing.
it to throw it away, are we? I mean, no, the kids are eating.
No,
It's part of their portion.
right,
correct?
they have to have fruits and vegetables on their tray when they leave the
And they're
line
not
in order to
taking them.
consider that a reimbursable meal. So that's the reason the staff is pushing the fact that, you need to be taking your fruits and vegetables. So, I mean, we're going to see, probably by October, I will start to be out there more and start to see who's eating it, who's not, why they don't like it, what are they doing with it, are they throwing it out, but that'll be once October kicks in to see how.
No, that's what I meant. I mean, when I just get making them take it and then they're just throwing it in the trash.
Right. I mean, I'm hoping that's what they're not doing. The ladies are telling them, please, just take it, eat it, save it for later, throw it in your backpack, eat it tonight, give it to your sister, brother,
Right.
Wow.
trying
Michael?
to get them to take it.
Sounds like you have a good handle on the new introduction of fruit and vegetables. If in fact they do continue not to eat it, and it goes out in the waste stream, there's new regulations on organic material going into the waste stream. So maybe you'll hear about that in the future, right?
Right, probably
Let's
down.
get 'em to eat it,
I think
more
after this new
importantly.
guidelines is in place, I think there could be some talk. I think their hope is mainly that the kids start to eat it. But I'm sure down the line, if a lot of the school districts start complaining that they're having a lot of waste, I'm sure something will come up down the road that will help with that situation.
Tony?
Can the kids get 2 milks if they want? Can buy
They
it?
have to purchase the second one.
And the milk
Yes.
price is the same,
Milk,
right?
milk prices remain the same. We did come down a dime at the middle school and high school because we weren't going to charge them the same thing that we were charging them for 10-ounce milk for an 8-ounce milk, so that did come down. Elementary level stayed the same, and Macomber level stayed the same. But we haven't really had a lot of complaints as far as that. Double lunches, we did put a stop to that. We thought that occasionally, if we had a pizza day, to make it something special for the kids, we would allow double lunches on like a pizza day or something, and, you know, because I know there's a lot of kids out there that want double lunches every day, a lot of families that want double lunches, but so
Now,
far.
you mentioned whole wheat pizza. Is that just the school's pizza, or is that's
No,
not the
no, this is the
Papagino's day?
Papagino's pizza.
It is the Papagino's
Yeah, we went
day.
out to bid we went out and got bids on the whole wheat. They actually, at the end of last year,
I
brought us
didn't notice that
samples,
when we
and we
did it.
put out for the kids to try to see if they could tell the difference of the whole wheat and what the white wheat they were the white that they were
Could you
receiving.
bring some pizza samples to our next meeting?
Sure, anything for you, Mr. Viveras. That's what I.
Now, is
need to do.
Papagino's doing that special for the
He just
school
thinks it's
departments?
No,
or is that
they're
something
having,
they
well,
offer?
they started, once they saw these new regulations, guidelines coming down, they started to, they were right on top of that. Like, soon as they heard that was coming down, we called up one day and they're like, no, we're putting that together right now.
Okay.
I mean, even the bread companies are already on top of the whole wheat, dropping off samples, having the staff try it. They were already on top of that, so
Yeah.
they had
Michael?
to be.
Yeah, the whole wheat pizza made me remember years ago when there was a whole wheat pizza company out in Western Mass, but I don't want to go off on a tangent. But I do want to speak of the menu. I've heard that one hot dog is considered a lunch for a student, and that they're not allowed a second hot dog. And I don't want to get involved in what you do, but I've heard about some hungry people that wanted 2 hot dogs for lunch and were denied. That the story does go a bit further. They perhaps aren't going home at 3 o'clock for a snack. They may have an extended day, and they may not eat anything until 5:30. So I'd like for you to look into that more and see if we can
That
come
was
up
part
with
of the
some...
second, ordering a second lunch or a double lunch was
Yeah.
because it's not encouraged because of the obesity rate that's out there. And during lunchtime, a lot of the kids are taking so long that they're throwing a lot of waste out. So by them only purchasing one lunch, there was hope that the kids would learn to start eating the other elements that are in their lunch tray. So a lot of the kids that are purchasing the one hot dog that would like 2, a lot of times they're eating the 2 hot dogs and throwing everything else out. So the double lunch is a very hard line, because if I have families that say to me, time is the only time that I can get Johnny to eat, who's responsible to let families know what their children should eat and how much of it they should eat? So we're trying it. We're going to try it and see what we get, and I'll make changes as we go along. I try to work with the families as much as I can, and
Eric?
This is what I haven't been able to wrap my head around. 2 hot dogs contributes to obesity, but you can have a hot dog for 30 straight days as an
I
alternative
agree.
lunch.
I agree. I don't disagree with you.
And a child can still bring his own lunch and bring whatever
He can bring
or
his
she
own lunch,
wants.
bring ring dings, he can bring a bag of Doritos, he can bring 2
Well, now you
chocolate
let the cat out of the
milks, he
bag.
can bring 3 snacks. Again, that's a very difficult,
So who sets the alternative?
we set the alternative. It is easier to set the alternative based on, they try to do it on what a lot of the kids like. Like if we have kids that like grilled cheese, 1 month we're doing grilled cheese, 1 month we're doing pizza, 1 month we might be doing cheeseburgers, 1 month we may be doing hamburger patties. It depends on, we gear that around what the kids like.
So I guess I'll even go a step further. Why do we offer an alternative lunch?
Because we have a lot of kids that don't like the regular purchase lunch. So the alternative, just to give you, at the elementary school, for instance, we will serve 225 regular lunches, but then we'll serve 140 alternative lunches. So that's 140 kids that are purchasing their lunch,
That's a
buying
lot.
the alternative. So it's a lot of kids that look for the alternative. So you try to alter an alternative, and a lot of districts do it because, the kids do eat it.
But that alternative is also a regular lunch another day. Yes?
Right, it could be a regular, but we would not offer a hot dog one day with an alternative hot dog.
I know, so basically, we're offering the same lunch, we're just giving
Then
them
we
a
could get you
choice.
2 hot dogs.
So we're just giving them a choice, basically.
It gives them a choice and it gives them an alternative, because there are a lot of kids out there that
Trade off with the friend.
won't like the regular lunch,
Yeah,
so
you
they
get a
know
hot
it's
dog,
out there,
I'll
they
get
can
the
do
pizza.
it.
So an alternative, I see in my mind, it was like, poor Johnny left his lunch on the bus, so we give him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich so we don't hear his stomach growling all day. So that's not what we're talking about here.